Audible speech has come a long way in video games. From the Intellivision's brief bellow of B-17 Baum to entire days worth of dialogue in modern titles. So it's no surprise with that amount of converse the odd slip-up appears. And we've had some real doozies over the years. So this episode, we take a look at these erroneous enunciations, these animalistic articulations, and these disastrous dialogues. As I say, but hello you. I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. 10 embarrassing voice acting mistakes accidentally left in video games. Originally for the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, yep, no Nintendo, Mega Man 8 was the first in the series of 32-bit consoles, yet remained fundamentally true to its side-scrolling platforming roots. However, one innovation was the inclusion of animated FMVs, complete with a voice cast. Good news! Besides the English language version being, well, amateurish, to put it mildly.
Hey, Bass! Why must I fight you? We are not enemies!
Shut up!
And as much as we all laugh at them today, these aren't technically mistakes. But fear not. Have a listen to this stuttering S-show from Dr. Light's voice actor, Jack Evans, who presumably confused his character with Elmer Fudd, and interestingly was later credited for his voice work in the 1999 PS1 game, Pepsi Man.
You must recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
But where is Dr. Wily?
That's a good question. We may be able to locate another energy emission from the radar room.
Anyhow, Mega Man's voice actor, Ruth Marie Jarman, known as Ruth Shiraishi pre-2012, revealed in an insightful March 2021 interview that during the tight scheduled recording process in a meeting room in downtown Tokyo, not only was she unaware the same recording session for Mega Man 8 would later be used for Mega Man X4, but Dr. Light's famous flub could theoretically be the result of the name Mega Man remaining written in the script in its Japanese form, Rockman, with instructions to verbalise Mega Man in its place. And Jack may have splurted Mega Man as he was reading Rockman and corrected himself mid-sentence.
Recover all the energy immediately, Mega Man.
Ruth further explains that her mispronunciation of bass as bass was clearly never picked up, and she only realised the character was called Bass in that very interview some 25 years after the game's release. Ruth further speculated that were or wa in Jack's line may be used in Japanese as signalling surprise. Thus the mistake may have been harder to detect to the Japanese ear while editing. What a way to celebrate Mega Man's 10th anniversary. Released in March 2006, Oblivion flaunted, via Bethesda-developed Radiant AI software, NPCs that reacted dynamically to their environment on their own volition. These intelligent NPCs were fully voiced, a first for the Elder Scrolls series. Aided by Blindlight, a service provider of Hollywood production into the gaming industry, Oblivion impressively managed to acquire a star-studded lineup for its voice roles, including Sir Patrick Stewart as Emperor Uriel Septim VII, for which he won a Spike TV award, Sean Bean as Emperor Martin Septim, Terence Stamp as Mankar Cameron, and Linda Carter as the female Orcs and Nords. Oh, and not forgetting executive producer 1 Todd Howard as Clavius Vile and Alban Cornelius, an Imperial test character seen in the E3 demo, only accessible by console command. What a welcome Easter egg! However, this feat wasn't without its flaws. Mark Lampert, audio director at Bethesda Game Studios, divulged in a 2018 interview that the game's lines were voiced systematically in alphabetical order, Thus the voice actors had precisely zero context to portray their characters. Not exactly optimal mythology for quality assurance for a game with over 200 quests and what consequentially amounts to over 50 hours of voice recording. Combined with the fact only a score of voice actors were used for hundreds of NPCs, mishaps manifested, including incongruous conversations, beggars voiced by Wes Johnson with hilariously flitting personalities.
Me children will thank you for your help.
Thank you, kind sir.
A line in the Knights the Nine add-on from Lathan, voiced by Michael Mack, where after a long pause the word Pellinal is heard, presumably an unprovoked reference to Divine Crusader Pellinal Whitestrake.
The Knights of the Nine have prevailed over Umaril. Truly the gods have shown us favor. Pellinal.
Not forgetting fluffs and repetition that clearly should have been outtakes, like this from Norbert Lels, voiced by Ralph Corsham.
Lady Umbernox has hired a new captain. Lady Umbernox has hired a new captain of the guard.
And worst of all, this unedited disaster from voice actress Linda Canyon.
All on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again. I heard the thieves broke into the Arcane University, the Imperial Legion compound, and the temple, all on the same night.
Who's laughing now? Turns out we are. But these editing blunders merely add to the charm, right? It just works. For endless memes. This car crash of a voice-based mistake is somewhat of an outlier, as the developers misplaced their audio assets to humorous effect. You see, in September 1999, Naughty Dog raced North America with the Bandicoot Mario Kart Crash Team Racing. The game features an unlockable racer only obtainable via cheat code, Penta Penguin, and Penta has his issues. Firstly, unlike any other racer, Uka Uka is displayed as a masked power-up icon, yet it's Aku Aku that inconsistently activates around him. Secondly, there's his voice. Shockingly mixed in with his intended penguin yelps are the suspiciously human-sounding lines Penguin Yay 1 and Penguin Yay 2.
Penguin Yay 1? Penguin Yay 2?
That voice is of Gavin James, programmer of the game. Seemingly placeholder audio they never replaced. This mistake from the NTSC version was corrected in time for the European release the following month. Though oddly, the Penguin Yay version was still the one purchasable on the digital PSN store. Seeing the funny side, when the 2019 remake Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled came around, Penta's oddities were left in, retaining the Penguin Yay 1 line, albeit in a now much more penguin-like manner.
Penguin Yay 1?
And after winning a race, he alludes to the joke by celebrating with the pun, "Yay Penguin, I won." The addition of post-launch microtransactions was not as funny. Produced by Interplay as a successor to Star Trek 25th Anniversary, Star Trek Judgment Rites saw an initial DOS release back in 1993 with a later Mac and CD-ROM release in 95. And it was a CD-ROM version in particular that prompted Trekkies to beam with joy. You see, the CD-ROM format allowed the point-and-click adventure to feature the voices of the entire original cast. Talk about Trek's appeal. For this reason, Judgment Rites is of historical note within the Star Trek fandom, in that the game would be the last time the original cast appeared in a production together. As well as, if you exclude 1997's cancelled project Secret of Vulcan Fury, DeForest Kelly's final performance as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. Sadly, it's this performance featured in this entry as he cracks up after failing to deliver what is, to be fair, a rather convoluted line.
There are a myriad of childhood developmental blind alleys that might restrict our adult pattern creation representation cap.
Bones, stop. You're starting to sound like Spock.
Despite this, the game received wide acclaim, with 1994's PC Gamer UK and US respectively ranking Judgment Rites 43rd and 44th best computer game ever. Some even suggest it captures the feel of the original show so much it could well be considered canon as the final season of the TV show's events, principally down to the beloved original voice cast. So if the inclusion of a flubbed line triggers a mini meltdown, maybe you should get a life. While I get my coat. The game where just one more turn becomes a sleepless night of building your medieval empire and conquering the known world on your computer. Yes, it's Medieval 2 Total War. Set between 1080 and 1530, the award-winning Medieval 2 from 2006 was published by Sega and was developed for Windows by the Australian arm of British developer The Creative Assembly. Renowned for its beautiful blend of turn-based strategy and real-time combat, a feature that many wannabe subjugators of pixels no doubt hold dear in their memories is the General's glorious voice-acted cutscenes. To achieve their raison d'etre of morale boosting via verbal annihilation of the opponent by chucking stereotypes at them, the Generals probably shouldn't stumble over their own words. Have a listen to these fumbles from the German General of the Holy Roman Empire that somehow got left in, and see if you're inspired.
Those Venetians can count money faster than a Hamburg fishwife. Let's see how fast they can count their debt. Let's see how fast they count their debt. With God's good graces we shall strike them down. With God's good graces we shall strike down a quarter.
And
God loves only those. God loves only the killers of Spaniards. Let us treat them with the respect they merit and kill them.
Is that someone sneezing in the background of the Spanish General's oral put down?
These Hungarians make a brave show, but
Either way, it's safe to say we are well and truly past the diplomatic stage of proceedings.
Any people who make a virtue of playing the bagpipes should be despised and killed, if only to save our hearing.
Landing in Japan in 1989 as Red Alert for the PC Engine CD-ROM system and 1990 in North America for the TurboGrafx CD, Last Alert was developed by Shin Nihon Lasersoft, starring protagonist Guy Kazuma in a highly original plot of a lone commando gunning down everyone in sight in order to prevent an evil gang from taking over the world. The then newly fangled CD-ROM format enabled voice acting, which, to the enjoyment of us living 3 decades in the future, turned out some of the most ridiculously cliché and cheesiest dialogues in gaming history.
President Allman, it's nice to see you're safe.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you made it safely. Now it's time for you to die. I'll burn you to death with these flames. How do you want it done, rare or medium?
Sorry, I don't like roast pork.
Not forgetting some truly dodgy, undoubtedly offensive attempts at foreign accents.
He intends to enter the martial arts tournament you host every year to kill you, Mr. Lee.
Really? Well, that's interesting. By the way, Dr. Garcia, how is the development of your ultimate weapon, Indra, coming along?
And this one where Barney Gumble seems to make a surprise appearance.
Guy, the stealth bomber is in the back of this factory!
But one line, or more specifically, word, wasn't just humorously delivered, but incorrectly as well. See if you can spot it.
The damages on this ship and the weapons aboard will come to $1 billion.
People will hate you, Steve, if you're too stingy.
Did you get it? Rather than pronouncing the word stingy, meaning someone who doesn't easily part with their money, the poor chap reading the line likely doesn't recognise the word and pronounces it stingy instead. Ouch. The casting credits only list the voice actors' forenames. in this case, David as Guy Casimir and Alan, Barbara, Dan and Mark as all the rest. It's almost as like they didn't want any association. I can't imagine why.
Hey, Guy! Let my baby Betty throw you a kiss!
You're some weirdo naming your helicopter.
I know what you're thinking. Besides the incessant long loading screens, glitches, terrible camera, scarily eccentric NPCs whose hands fly all over the place, dark story, unforgivable naming convention of Sonic the Hedgehog as opposed to calling it literally anything else, disturbing romance between a hedgehog and a 17-year-old girl, and the fact the game tarnished the reputation of an entire franchise, there's simply nothing wrong with Sonic 06. At least it sounded awesome, right? Well, if you weren't aware of these voice acting blunders, I'm about to do the unthinkable and make it that little bit worse for you. Take a listen to this clip from Shadow's story.
Now I can finally stop Mephiles.
Agent Shadow, E123 Omega has engaged Mephiles. Head to the Wave Ocean, head to Wave Ocean. Agent Shadow, E123 Omega has engaged Mephiles. Head to Wave Ocean immediately.
After Shadow states, "Good, now I can finally stop Mephiles," which sounds like he's discovered a miracle cure for a naughty disease, the gun commander flubs his lines by referring to Wave Ocean as the Wave Ocean, then eventually, correctly delivers the line. Rather than removing what should have been an outtake, the entire recording was left in the game. But apart from all that, the game's good, right? No. In a conversation with Rouge, the same gun commander wrongly refers to the Scepter of Darkness as the Book of Darkness, despite the text appearing correctly on screen.
Agent Rouge, report your status immediately. Have you retrieved the Book of Darkness?
The logical reason behind this error is simply that the voice actor read from a script lost in translation, as the item in Japanese is Yami no Tabari, and alone the word Tabari means notebook. The voice actor in question is David Wills, credited for voice work in the Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And F-Zero television series, to name a few. Within the Sonic universe, David has performed as Espio the Chameleon and also voiced the Duke of Soliana in Sonic 06. Regardless, these voice acting mistakes are merely the tip of an iceberg of issues as to why the game should probably be more accurately titled Sonic Rushed instead. Maybe it was better when Sonic couldn't talk, after all. Developed by Ukes, WWE 2K17, to the frustration of many, gutted out 2K's much-loved Showcase mode, a single-player experience of iconic wrestling rivalries from history. Fans of wrestling entertainment were left feeling rather raw, but I'm sure they are overjoyed to learn that they can simply pay extra for such an experience instead, by purchasing the Hall of Fame Showcase DLC. Turns out they may have well just bought a one-way ticket to Suplex City. You see, to add insult to injury, it's within the supplementary purchase that you'll ears encounter this verbalised stunner.
With his fellows right to... In fact, he won the World Tag Team Championship that year with his fellow right to censor member. Yeah, and... Oh, you're right. Ready? Oh, you mean back when he was the good father.
The Royal Fumble occurs during commentary by Jerry the King Lawler in the dream match between the Godfather and Papa Shango, both wrestlers having been portrayed by Chris Wright. Jerry does a reversal of his own, grappling with his lines, yet embarrassingly, the whole take 1 and, ironically, take 2 have been left in. Evidently, the DLC was in need of some TLC. Tomba, or Tombi for those of you in Europe, was a 1997 brainchild of developers Whoopee Camp, ran by legendary ex-Capcom designer Takeru Fujiwara. 2 years later, the colourful platformer featuring evil anthropomorphic pigs spawned a sequel, Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return, going the whole hog by fully voicing all of its narration. Problem is, many characters were performed by the same individual, meaning a range of personalities left not only a lot to be desired, but a feeling of deja vu. Voice actor Peter Kepler, for example, whose resume includes Army Men Air Attack and Siphon Filter 2, voiced 15 characters in Tomba 2 alone. Not only this, among the localisation issues and voice actors seemingly reading lines not having a clue what they're talking about, some characters change voices entirely.
I seem to recall the evil pigs throwing it to the lava below.
Have you used the animal dash?
But the tripe doesn't end there. Take this outtake, well, intake of an outtake, from voice actor J.S. Gilbert, whose long list of video game voice work includes Quake, Twisted Metal Black, and again, Siphon Filter 2.
If you're finding okay, here we go, there we go, alright. If you're finding the cheeky birds, please use these wings.
And this mistaken line from a mermaid voiced by Nancy Burr, who's additionally credited with 5 other characters in the game, where she asks a non sequitur question regarding captivity by water pigs as opposed to making a statement shown on screen.
What are you doing in a place like this?
Were you captured by the water pigs?
So, to the cast of Tomba 2, I say, I would really prefer if you would be quiet. If you know, you know. Where to even begin with this castle of catastrophe? In 2003, Japanese developers Alpha System produced Shikigami no Shiro 2 for the Sega Naomi arcade, with console ports to shortly follow. Although it's only ever ported outside of Japan by Excess Games to the PS2, in North America as Castle Shikigami 2, and in Europe as Castle Shikigami 2 War of the Worlds. Confusing in chronology, the 2001 original title of the series was simply Shikigami no Shiro, or Castle of Shikigami, although it perplexingly received the name Mobile Light Force 2 in North America and Europe by the time Excess Games had localised it, with an additional release labelled merely with the initials MLF2 in some PAL regions, just to mess with our heads. This is despite the 1994 original Mobile Light Force already having its name locally changed from Gunbird, its characters replaced with the names of employees at Excess Games, and its brandishing hideously generic box art, which later got lazily duplicated in its entirety for Mobile Light Force 2. Plus the small fact, it has absolutely nothing to do with Castle of Shikigami. Anyhow, the game features player versus boss dialogue, which I think it's fair to say wasn't exactly a seamless transition from Japanese for the English dub.
I accept. I'm Kim of 2 homes and 7 moms.
I like girls, but now it's about justice. Mr. Beam has come. Here it is!
But actually, you may be screaming, that's a mistake in localisation, not the voice work per se. Well, strap yourselves in for the real voice acting disaster class. Newly introduced character for the game, Roger Sasuke, didn't only break the English language with his diction, but also the fourth wall, as he bewilderingly conveyed,
"First time to meet, or long time. Changed voice. It's me, Yama.
And it's not the only time either.
Roger, go!
Older than looks. I'm Roger Sasuke.
Roger, go!
Used to commanding. I'm Roger Sasuke.
Calling her by name. It's a vicious idea.
By reading the parenthesis, changed voice, Roger's voice actor appears to have read directions in the script out loud, with the added irony of not actually changing his voice. To be fair to the uncredited performer, changed voice could easily have been intentional dialogue in what is one ginormous dumpster fire of hilariously terrible translations, where it's virtually impossible to tell what on earth is going on in this idiotic, nonsensical English script all game long.
It's idiot power. Men are cool. My idiot's also cool. It victimizes women.
Sounds idiotic.
What?
That's a compliment. I'm an idiot too. Great, we idiots shouldn't think.
Hello you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But thanks again for watching, and until next time friends, I'm missing you already.